What's up, YouTube? Demi here with a build guide. So this is LEMONPRIME'S Scourge Arrow Pathfinder. I haven't played this character in like a year plus, and it's about time that it finally got the rework that it deserves. LEMONPRIME was my first level 100, and I made this bow recently. I'll include the crafting video in the description of this. All of my gear is self-crafted, mirror tier, or close to mirror tier, so as always with my type of builds and standard, if you can't afford really good mirror tier gear, then solo self-found is fine. So we're gonna do this quick Minotaur run, just so you can see how it plays. I actually don't want to put any of these on because it makes it take longer, so we'll just do this. But Scourge Arrow is a charge up channeling skill, so you kind of just stand here, you charge up to 5 stacks, and then you release, it fires your arrows, and then wherever you have your mouse when you release it is where the pods will go. You see those things? That's where your damage comes from. So you want to put those in the middle of the packs, and then they will shotgun and murder everything around you. It's pretty cool. You don't need a whole bunch of arrows with this. I have one right now from just my shaped quiver. So that's about all you need to be able to tell the game where you want the pods to be. But as you can see, it's pretty fast. It's pretty good. I did Shaper. There's ad phase. All right, perfect. So now we just wait. Let's get full frenzies and shit. Not gonna be able to be power charges, I don't think. Let's go for it. Aw, it's close. I tried for 2-shot, just under 3-shot. It's not too bad, I think. I did a bunch of Hydras. I was trying really hard to get a 1-shot on Hydra. I got a bunch of 2-shots, one really clean 2-shot. Get more projectiles on the initial shot. Ooh, that was a good one. And then, I don't know, I did a Kurgle boss. Time to die. Aha! Didn't even die. Which was pretty clean. Deathless first try, you know, easy game. Around depth 400 with no crazy mods though, so nothing too dumb. Most Guardians I could 1 or 2-shot, generally 2-shot. Okay, let's go see if we can kill this thing. So you drop your banner, drop your charges or your flask, whatever, and then you just shoot a couple times. Twice, and he's dead. Great. Anyways, let's go get into the build guide. So, skill tree wise and whatnot, we are a Pathfinder. I always forget to say this, bandits kill all for the skill points, right? We are a Pathfinder though for a multitude of reasons, and namely because it gives you a ton of quality of life and damage and survivability, right? So in order of priority, I would recommend that you take Nature's Boon first, because reduce elemental damage taken. Flash charges gain 3 charges every 3 seconds. So if I sit here and just use this, and I sit here and stare at it, look, it gets charges. I'm not killing anything, I'm standing by a hideout. It's really good for sustain, really good for boss fights, really good for things like Call of Grandmasters or lab trials, whatever, right? Passive flash charge generation. You also have a 20% chance for your flask to not consume, which is kind of cool. I'm trying to get it to proc on one of mine. All right, well, apparently I can't do that. It just gives you a chance to not use charges. It's kind of nice. And then you go for Master Alchemist, gives you immunity to elemental ailments during any flask effect. So anytime I have a flask active, which is all the time ever, I'm immune to ailments, so I can't be frozen, shocked, ignited, chilled, none of that stuff. I also get a bunch of LE damage and 20% chance of free shock and ignite, which is kind of irrelevant for us since we're crit. All of our everything does all of that all the time anyway. After that, I'd recommend you go for Veteran Boyer. You get 10% of physical damage as extra damage as a random element because we are a full physical to cold conversion on Scourge Arrow. You get this anytime you hit anything. It doesn't show up in Tooltip, it only shows up in Path of Building, but it's 10% more damage basically. And then you get 10% LE Pen, again, great since we're full LE conversion. And then you get enemies you kill that are affected by elemental ailments, which is everything that we crit and do this on. Gives you 100% increased flash charges, so you get twice the flash you normally would, which means that your flasks are up all the time, no matter what. It's great. And then after that, we go for Nature's Adrenaline, just for a bunch of movement speed and attack speed during flask effect. All these little nodes give you increased effective flasks on you, and damage, and duration, and it's really good. You get 20% increased flask effect across the board, so instead of my Taste of Hate being, say, 30% damage, it's like 35% damage, 36% damage. It's pretty good. My Quicksilver is 36% movement speed. It's dumb. It's really good. After that, skill tree wise, this is a mapping setup. So I have stuff like frenzy charges here because I have blood rage up all the time for mapping, so I have full frenzies. But if you don't want to do that, if you just want a boss fight with this, just drop the frenzies and take more damage nodes basically. But yeah, we go through this, get a bunch of life, lots of life, movement speed stuff, projectile damage, projectile speed, bow, damage with bows, movement speed, life, all of this good crit with bows, and attack, physical damage, critical strike chance, movement speed. And then we come down here, grab some conversion. This is what gives us 40% conversion, these two nodes. And then we'll get more from a Watcher's Eye and from our glove slots later. Got some crit multi with bows, weapon elemental damage, and penetration with weapons. So we got 5% pen here, we have 8% pen here, so we're up 13, and then we have another 6 here, that's 19, and then we get 10 from our ascendancy, so we're at 29, and oh god, what else do we even have? I don't even know. I have way more than that. I have 37 cold pen, 22 fire, 22 lightning, and then an additional 11, 19, and 11, and if I use a Wise Oak, it goes up to 68 plus 19 pen with the cold, which is primarily most of our damage with a little bit of lightning. It's a lot of cold pen. I can do Hollow Grandmasters as well on this character, I've already done that. But yeah, we have come down here for point blank. This gives you 50% more damage to enemies that are right in front of you from wherever you fire it. So if I fire here, anything that gets hit from like right here, if I fire right in front of me, this is like optimal damage. Everything's gonna take 50% more damage, which is a huge multiplier that also doesn't show up in tooltip. Oops, that's Path of Building. Don't look at that yet. We're not ready for that, okay? That'll come after. And then we take King of the Hill for a bunch of crit multi, frenzy charges, because again, I'm doing this for mapping mostly, but the boss fighting potential is still there. Like that Minotaur, I had frenzies up, so he just died. Projectile damage stuff, movement speed, ignore movement speed penalties from armor. Attack speed, accuracy, some life nodes, some more life nodes. I have a Watcher's Eye down here. We'll go over the jewels after they do the rest of the tree. More life, crit multi, the bottom half of the bow side because it's the more efficient half. More frenzies, more jewels. We have phase acro, so we have 40% attack dodge, 30% spell dodge, another jewel socket, and more life. This is our attack damage leeches life. This is our mana leeches life, so we have enough to be leech capped all the time. It's great. More frenzies. I got some more Ellie pen here. Another jewel socket, a bunch of attack speed, life, crit damage, crit multi, crit damage, and crit movement speed damage. Or sorry, damage, movement speed, dex, right? Tons of damage on the skill tree. Again, if you don't want to do boss fighting, you would just drop these. Or sorry, don't want to do mapping stuff, drop those. And then you can pick up things like Wall Pact, Vitality Void. You can pick up more life nodes if you wanted. You could go for, if you want to do the Lionized Fall Jewel and take the bottom half of the claw nodes, you can do that. And then take this jewel socket with the Lionized Fall to convert these into bow nodes, so you get attack damage, mana leech, crit multi with claws, or with bows, sorry. It's a pretty good option as well, but I like my frenzies because I like going fast. As for the jewels, as I said, I have one Watcher's Eye. You're gonna want a 40% converted to cold with hatred jewel. That's it, minimum. Like that'll give you full conversion to cold. So you have 40 here, we got 40 here, and then I have 25 for my gloves. You can't convert more than 100%, but the more you have, the more it'll become cold damage and less anything else. And after that, if you can get pen with hatred, great. If you can get base crit with hatred, great. If you had all three, incredible, but I only have two because I'm a pleb. Everything else is an abyssal jewel because Scourge Arrow has 150% more damage with hits and ailments per stage, right? So any flat damage you add to this, even though it's only 50% damage effectiveness of added damage, whatever, you still get 5 stages and 150% more per stage. So that's 750 divided by 2. You get 375% effectiveness of added damage. So every 1 damage I add becomes 3.75 damage. It's kind of dumb, right? So Abyssal Jewels, you want to stack a bunch of flat damage. There's a ton of mods that work for this character. You're going to want to focus on life if your life total is low, but life, flat fizz to attacks, flat damage, flat fizz to bows, cold damage to attacks, cold damage to blows, physical damage is extra fire if you dealt a crit recently, which is like a little stat stick effect. Attack speed if you dealt a crit recently. You're going to want 1 Onslaught Jewel for mapping. Again, if you're not mapping, you just want a boss fight, take out this and just get another damage roll. What else do we got? Where's my other jewels? This one has cold damage to bows, attack speed. Pen if you haven't killed recently, that's up for bosses. So that'll add even more penetration to our already pretty dumb amounts of penetration. This one has crit multi is great. All the other ones we already talked about. Fizz, life attack speed if you crit recently. Should be up all the time. And then this one is life, double fizz attack speed. The one on my belt is double fizz, lightning damage, and multi. Just a ton of extra flat. Just stack Abyssal Jewels, get as much flat as you can, the more the better. If you need life rolls, get life rolls. Let's see, let's get into the gear next. So again, if you can't afford near tier gear, Soul Self-Found gear is fine. Chinsel will be a great option for the bow. Arborix, what's the new bleed bow? That would work too. Any like, say 300 plus DPS Harbinger will give you enough damage to carry you through the game very, very easily, or just a Chinsel or like a Lionized Glare would be fine, or Vision, whatever the bow's called. Anything like that, any 300 plus DPS bow, physical DPS, because we are converting, right? But this bow I made, and it's disgusting. It's 400, what is that, 412 DPS with 35% extra cold, 10% pen, and the attack speed double damage mod. It's insane. If I proc that double damage mod on a boss, they just die instantly, and it's beautiful. But yeah, go for as much as you can. Quiver, you're going to want at least one projectile somewhere. So I have an additional arrow quiver. You can either get one that's a Shaper quiver with additional arrow or a corrupted additional arrow one. But after that, you're going to want to go for just damage and life mods, basically. So life, physical is extra cold, weapon elemental damage, added flat fizz, attack speed, crit multi, crit, accuracy. You could get onslaught on kill on a shape quiver and then take off the onslaught on your jewel. Totally fine as well. After that, what else is there? Your helmet, you're going to want to go for a rare with life resist. If you can get accuracy, if you can get physical damage taken as fire, cold, lightning, whatever, it doesn't matter. Ideally, I think you're going to want cold, actually. Cold or lightning, since we have cold and lightning flasks. Physical damage taken as cold as lightning would be great. That comes from incursion modded helmets or a craft nowadays. But it's just a little bit of extra fizz mitigation because it makes the physical damage that you take go against your elemental resist. So the higher elemental resistances you have and the less cold damage to whatever you're taking, the less damage you take. But it's just life resist stats, right? Life resist, make sure you're res capped, and then accuracy, strength, whatever else you need. Gloves, this is where you get your last conversion piece. If you can't afford like a good pair of incursion gloves or a multi-modded veiled mod, physical damage converted to cold mod, whatever, you can use Hrim Sorrow or Hrim Burn. They have 50% cold conversion on them, which means that you could actually drop the Watcher's Eye and just take these two nodes, and with a Hrim Burn, Hrim Sorrow, which is like an Alk, you'll have 90% cold conversion. That's close enough, right? But otherwise, life resist, right? Nothing too crazy there. Boots, life resist, movement speed, stats if you need them. If you need int, if you need dex, whatever, get it on your something. I think I needed 2 intelligence items, so I have int here, and that was enough to give me all the stats I needed. And then like 1 strength mod somewhere will give you enough. The rings, I have steel rings because we are physical converting to cold, so steel rings are really good. You're going to want to go for physical damage and life primarily, and then if you can get like weapon elemental damage, resist, strength, dex, accuracy, whatever else you need, go for that. Attack speed is great as well. Same thing in my other ring, basically identical rings. This one has strength instead of resist, but more or less the same. Your amulet, you can get a ton of damage here because we are a physics to LE conversion build, right? You can get Shaper amulets that have up to 40% as extra. You can also go for an Eldar amulet that has 20% extra fire and 13% non-chaos as chaos. That would actually probably give you more damage than this one. But since I'm going for the cold pen, I wanted this because it gives you more overall damage, right? Otherwise, you want to go for like crit multi, accuracy. If you could get like charges on kill, frenzy power, endurance on kill, Shaper amulet, that'd be pretty good for mapping. So you'd have all 3 charges up all the time. Great damage, great crit, great survivability from the endurances as well. But yeah, pretty good amulet. Belt, I went for a Hysteria Eldar belt because Eldar belts have attack speed, projectile damage, effective flasks as options, which I have all of those, and the 5% LE pen during any flask effect, which is pretty solid. If I had a little bit more effective flasks, I could potentially get like a crazy amount of projectiles. So I could get 3 additional projectiles from this, but I'm not using it right now. But yeah, go for as much damage as you can get if you can. Otherwise, if you need resist, life resist, sweat, right? If you can get life recovery on an Elder belt or anything that looks like this belt, basically. This belt's insane. I love this belt a lot. And then your chest piece, you got a lot of options here. You could do, oh god, where do we even start? Start with a tabula, right? Work your way up into maybe a belly of the beast, into maybe a lionized chest piece, the one with the level 20 pierce, so level 15 pierce, so you have a 7-link chest, right? This is an Elder chest with level 1 maim, which is about 15% more physical damage to the socketed supports, right? So that's really good. I also have Elder T1 base crit, which is really nice as well, and then a bunch of life and on an astral, so I get the all res bonus. Ferul's Fur is an option if you wanted to use that. It's really expensive, but if you get aspect of the cat somewhere on one of your pieces, you could have permanent power and frenzy charges up for bossing, which is really, really good as well. And I believe that's all of my gear, right? Yes. So Flasks. I am using a Taste of Hate, extra cold damage, fizz mitigation, less cold damage taken. Perfect. Diamond Flask, you need to be bleed immune, so you can have bleed immunity on either this or your Quicksilver, and then just swap the movement speed suffix to your Diamond Flask. Doesn't matter which one, so just get bleed and movement speed on your 2 non-unique flasks. After that, you're going to want a Wise Oak. Wise Oak, as long as you have, it's a bit of a complex flask. If you manage to make all of these 3 exactly the same when you have all your flasks up, yeah, you can take less percent damage. Wow, you can take 10% less damage of cold, fire, and lightning, and you get 20% pen of all of those, which is multiplied by our Pathfinder ascendancy and our belt, so it's like 27% pen, something like that. But I'm just balanced for cold right now, so when I have my flasks up, I have the most cold res, which means I get this is cold pen, and I take less fire damage, which is good because I have fire damage taken as fizz is taken as fire here, right? And then I got a Quicksilver because I got to go fast, and a Vingtar's. Legacy Vingtar's has instant leech on it and mana and life leech. If you can't afford this, just use a Aziri's Promise. It's 40% or 25%, 30% extra damage as chaos. It's really, really good, and it gives you a little bit of life leech as well. Let's get into the gem links though. So the main 6-link setup, you have Scourge Arrow. Let me try to do this in order of priority. So we got Scourge Arrow, Weapon Elemental Damage, Mirage Archer, which lets you have a clone above your head that fires even more arrows, and it does actually fully charge them before it releases, which is pretty good. After that, I would recommend you do Hypothermia. This gives you more damage against chilled enemies, which is everything that we hit since we're mostly cold damage. And then we do Vicious Projectiles for just a bunch of more damage. And increased critical damage, which will give you a huge amount of crit multi. Really, really solid. I think I did this in the wrong order. Nope, it's good. Okay. Other links, we have a Blood Rage setup. This gives you attack speed and frenzy charge generation on kill. Pretty solid. Link to Enhance. The quality bonus to this is, I think, like, let's see, it's 20% attack speed. Now it's 26% attack speed, so it's a lot of quality, but you don't need this. 20% attack speed is fine. I also have a Portal Gem linked to the Enhance, so it gets all of that quality as well. So it goes to, like, instead of 69% cast speed, it goes all the way up to 141% increased cast speed, so my portals are near instant. And then aura-wise, we have a War Banner. This gives you a ton of accuracy rating and adrenaline for up to, I think it's 2.5 seconds on placing the banner. Adrenaline is 100% damage, 25% attack speed, 25% cast speed. It's the champion buff. It's kind of dumb. You just drop it on bossing. It gets stacks every time you kill something, so you run around with it, get the stacks, and then you want to kill something, you drop it for the boss, and they just die. Other auras, we got a Herald Device, curse on hit Assassin's Mark, so whenever we shatter an enemy, that explosion from the Herald Device can curse things with Assassin's Mark. Gives us power charges, it makes them take more damage from crits, it gives you a little bit of life and mana on kill, sure. And then I have a Hatred for even more cold damage. Physical damage gained is extra cold, same as our bow. And then in our boots, we have our Cast with Damage Taken setup. So I'm linked to Cast with Damage Taken, summon Ice Golem. Every time we take a chunk of damage, we get this Golem. We get Immortal Call for some Fizz immunity. This is for crit and accuracy. And then I have a Frost Bomb in here, which gives enemies negative 25% cold res, which is really good for us since we're dealing primarily cold damage. Kind of gross. And then in your bow, or wherever you want to put this, I have a 6-link Blink Arrow setup because I didn't know what else to put in here. You don't need this. A 1 or 2-link Blink Arrow is fine, but Blink Arrow, faster attacks, faster projectiles, enhanced to make it even faster. Level 2023 GMP, so it's like 11% attack speed there. And then a Blood Magic support, so I can use it all the time without having to worry about not having mana. I believe that's it. Oh, Pantheon-wise, I don't have the Pantheons really filled out at all. I'd probably recommend Brine King with maxed, or Solaris maxed, or Lunaris maxed. Any of these are fine. I'd probably recommend Lunaris, because they're not going to hit that much. This gives you a bunch of like phase reduction, movement speed, dodge, avoid projectiles, and avoid chain. It's a huge defensive buff. I highly recommend maxing that out. And then for your secondary, I'd recommend Garukon for evade and movement speed if you haven't been hit recently, which should be all the time. You can also take it, you could take, I don't even know, Shul Shikari for chaos damage maps for the poison immunity as well, but I'd probably recommend these two that are maxed out. I never really worry about Pantheons, they're just not important. But other than that, I believe that is the whole character. I don't think I missed anything. If I did, let me know. But there will be a path of building link in the description of this video. You can just import that. And it looks something like this. 12 million DPS. It's okay, I guess. I don't know why I can't save this. But yeah, I made this build in about an hour and a half using everything that I had in my stash. I had to craft gloves and a quiver, but everything else I had. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and come join me on stream, twitch.tv/Demi, and join my Discord, because we have about 2,100 people on there that all play Path of Exile, and they all love this game just as much as I do. So get on there, make some friends, maybe find a mapping party, and go delete the game just as much as I am right now. But thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. That'll be Demi out.